Hello and welcome. My name is Faz. I'm the president of DX3 and I welcome you to DX3 Pulse. DX3 Pulse is our regular and timely insights that are shared by biggest and brightest names in the industry focused on the retail and marketing industry. And today I'm really excited to welcome our guest. He has a tremendous amount of experience and expertise. So let me welcome Satej Sirur, who's the CEO of Rocketium. Welcome, Satej.
Hey Faz, glad to be here. Thanks for hosting me.
Satej is the CEO of Rocketium. He boasts an illustrious career, 20-year plus career, crafting innovative software products as an early team member at Microsoft and then AWS. Fueled by a passion for automating mundane tasks and a relentless commitment to pushing creative boundaries, Satej finds daily inspiration at Rocketium. Beyond his professional prowess, Satej's personal world is enriched by delightful chaos of five feline companions and a boundless joy brought by his 18-month-old daughter. An avid globe-trotter, he has traveled to 22 countries, harboring a special affection for enchanting beauty of Peru. Satej, so let's get started. Tell us a little bit more about what is Rocketium and what it does.
Yeah, so Faz, Rocketium is what we call a creative ops product. Now, this is a new space which is emerging, but in brief, what it means is that all of the work that business, marketing, and design teams do to make the images and videos that we see on different apps, ads, emails, all of the behind the scenes, almost like an assembly line, that work is called creative operations. Now that spans multiple different tools. It could be requests being tracked on project management tools, assets being shared on Google Drive, OneDrive, software like that, design being made on Photoshop, Illustrator, Figma, and then review being done on email, Slack. All of those different steps today are happening on different tools, though each of those tools is best in class for their work. As the work spans all of these different tasks, the copy paste work that happens, all the mundane repetitive activities that happen, that is what slows teams down. They also lack insight to do their work really, really well. And so that is a problem that Rocketium is solving by bringing all those pieces into one single place. So business, marketing, and design teams can work a lot faster, get creative content out that is relevant and visually appealing and suitable for every audience on wherever the channel is where they are seeing this content.
So basically, what you guys do is that you take all of sort of the almost like a boring process driven work that the creative geniuses don't want to focus on, and you make it really, really good so they can spend more of their time on areas that's key to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is really where the focus of our product development process also is. We spend a lot of time just seeing how people work, asking them what are some things that they would rather not do, also figuring out things that they are not able to do today because they lack software to help them. And that's really how we have built the product.
And how is that different from everyone else in that space? Because I'm thinking that that is a pretty kind of busy space now, correct?
Absolutely. So if you look at the space as a summation of each of those individual elements, every one of those elements is extremely crowded. There would be 50 really good project management tools,
Yeah.
100 really good asset management tools, 100 really good design tools. What is missing is somebody who's bringing all of those different pieces together and focusing on problems of large enterprise teams, which are more complicated. Their scale is very high. There are high expectations in terms of compliance, either brand guidelines, platform guidelines, also the need of insights and data science to drive these creative decisions. Somebody that brings all of those together. Now, a little morbid, but a good way that we describe this is the Infinity Stones of the Avengers for all the MCU fans. Each of those Infinity Stones is powerful in and of itself, but when they come together, you can do anything, right? Hopefully, you don't want to wipe out sentient life in any capacity, but really to do like you said, Faz, if people want to be creative, they could do that. If they want to do more testing, more personalization, anything that they were prevented from doing because these tools were separate, that's really how we think of ourselves as being different from competition.
So it's effectively kind of allowing creative teams in a way to focus sort of on the customer side of things, so you take care of the operational things, so then they can one streamline their resources to focus on the customer and delivering the service to them rather than having to worry about what happens in the back end and how to make that work.
Absolutely. Customer after customer, what we never hear is that this software sucks or that software sucks, because they have accepted that the way I will work is kind of like a fish never questions the existence of water. They've always assumed that there's going to be email and Excel and Photoshop.
Yeah.
So they don't really complain about the software. What they complain about is I'm not able to connect with people on as many platforms as I would like, or I'm not able to personalize beyond just saying people are in a certain region. I know people in different life stages with different product preferences, with different other demographic differences. I'm not able to. So these are common things that we hear from customers. So you're absolutely right. They are now able to focus on the end user, what their preferences are, so that they can really hit that bullseye instead of just having to guess or hit a wrong bullseye.
I mean, last sort of year or so, obviously the flavor has been AI. So I wanted to understand, because I mean, you guys do use AI tools. So I mean, was it always an AI driven thing? And how does the AI model work, and what makes it sort of so unique, like in terms of Rocketium's AI utilization?
Yeah, so because this software was always built from day one to solve problems of a certain set of teams and the problems that happen at the boundaries of those teams when work has to be thrown over the wall from one team to the other. So we have always used software as a way to remove those bottlenecks or allow them to do something that they were just not able to do. So automation, algorithms, AI, various open APIs that we have access to, all of those were anyway on the ingredients with which we made this amazing stew that is our product. So we have been early adopters of AI, whether it is language translation, image manipulation, removing backgrounds from images, text to speech. There are a variety of AI services that already exist, some that we have had to build on our own. That was always there in the product. Now, what is different is that because of large language models, because of the diversity of open source models that are available to us, we are able to do a whole lot more. And that is what we have added into different stages of the product. So the philosophy hasn't changed. It's still about enabling the person who's doing the work, respecting the work that they do, but at the same time saying, what part of your work would you rather not do? And bringing in AI. So as an example, for every image that is uploaded, why do you have to sit and tag it automatically? Have a taxonomy of 15 different fields and manually tag it. Can we tag it according to your brand guidelines and things that you have done before? Why do you have to look through 500 different images and videos and manually verify if the logo is the right size? Are you using the right language? Can that not be done automatically? So all of these are different places where we use AI, automation, various algorithms, but certainly the abundance of the large language models and the richness that they offer to us developers, that has certainly been a big boost for us.
That's fantastic. I mean, that does take away a lot of time. Like, it does free up so much time for people to actually go the next step. Once, as you said, like things like image verification and video verification and all of that, and like smaller things. I mean, we think they're small in terms of the logo being the right size, the right place, and so the right in terms of image, but it is a critical as part of the journey. I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, I wanted to ask you a
Absolutely.
little bit in terms of, obviously you guys are coming to DX3, and I'm very, very thankful for Rocketium support of DX3. But I mean, we are focused on obviously retails and brands and marketing agencies. So I wanted to understand a little bit more in terms of who is it that you want to talk to? Like, who are the people that you think are sort of the cornerstone of your potential audience?
So Rocketium, when we launched this creative ops product, it started off with large retailers because of the scale of their operations, the number of brands that they work with, and so on. But over the last couple of years, we've realized that it's not just one node in that network. It's actually a complex network which has brands, retailers, agencies, all working together trying to solve a similar problem. So that is why we are excited, especially about DX3, because you bring all of those people together. And we have realized that for any of these nodes in this network to be successful, they need the support of the others. And that is why our customers also today include all of these kinds of industries, and we are excited to meet all of them and really happy to be a part of DX3.
I mean, advertising industry has undergone almost sort of a fundamental shift over the past 10, 15 years. And by extension, that means the creative side has also been impacted and has transformed from what it used to be 10, 15 years ago. As someone who's in that industry and leading a business, like a cutting edge business, I wanted to understand what are your thoughts in terms of what does that industry look like and where do you see it going in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so the world has experienced a few shocks lately, and by the time they get adjusted to one shock, they get another. And marketers, especially, have been dealing with this kind of stuff with the emergence of digital, and then all of the gatekeepers who have come, and then algorithms, and the famous diagram with 3,000 marketing technology tools. So they've always had to deal with change. But really, as we speak about change and think about the future, a great quote comes to mind about what Jeff Bezos used to say when people used to ask him about the future. He said that if I have to predict the future or think about what's going to happen, I first focus on things that are not going to change. If I solve for things that are not going to change, then I can actually work on something long term. So I'm no longer chasing trends. I'm not trying to ride the wave of something that is coming. I'm trying to use whatever tools are at my disposal to solve problems that are always going to exist. So for marketers, what does that mean? Their brand is always going to be important. Their customers are always going to have very little attention span. Their customers are always going to want relevant messaging, something that appeals to them. So if those problems are not going to change, marketers should not worry about whether algorithms are taking care of certain parts of the campaign process. If generative AI is coming, they will not solve those problems. Those problems are ones that the marketers have to solve. Having said that, because these tools are in place, it's almost like an arms race. So as soon as a new tool comes, different people are going to adopt it at different levels of expertise. So marketers have to look at these tools, see how to add that to their arsenal. They also have to be a lot more comfortable using data. And even though creative has creative in its name, it should be augmented by insights. So how do you use data science? How do you experiment more? How do you really not go purely by intuition and gut, but also complement that with more scientific methods? So some of those things I would say. I know it's a very high level answer, but really marketers are well suited to remember the age old principles of marketing, because those are never really going to change. Just the ways to get to that will be different.
So would it be correct to think that sort of the marketer and the data science is coming closer together? And we also, I mean, as part of DX3, we do look at it that the CMOs today are far more knowledgeable and far more sort of experienced in understanding data insights and how tech is being used, as opposed to what it was 2 decades ago, where it was far more focused on the brand. It's almost like the pendulum had swung way too much the other side, and now
Yeah.
it's kind of coming back in that you do need to understand a what the technology is doing, and two how best you can leverage that technology to kind of get insights, as you said, to understand that okay, the creative is great, but you also need an insight behind the creative to make it work.
Yeah. And like you rightly said, one part of it was purely creative and poo-pooing technology or any new digital internet, any of that. The other side was the other extreme, which is to say that the creative is a black box. I'm just going to throw a ton of money. I'm going to let the platforms optimize it and the algorithms do the work. But now they've come to realize that if they rely purely on algorithms, then everybody has access to the same algorithms, everybody's using the same platform. So where does their innovation and their secret sauce come in? It's again back to the same things that will not change. Who's your audience? What does your brand really stand for? What does your audience really care about? How do you connect with them with that? So somewhere, yeah, if the pendulum can stop right in the middle, where both creativity and data, art and science can merge together, that would be a good mix.
Absolutely. I mean, I was talking to someone as one of my sort of webinars, and then we were talking about AI, and they mentioned that the AI will do to sort of office factory employees what automation did to the assembly line employees. That's almost a very scary thought on one hand, but like, are we at a stage where we start thinking about sort of our job security and things of that nature?
So I believe that technology has always had the same role, whether you think of the wheel or fire or printing press or any of that. It is always about complementing human creativity and productivity. Even if you think about assembly line, there are still 10 million, 15 million, some manufacturing jobs in the US where people are still working on in assembly lines. So even with automation and robotics, people are still there doing some stuff. And somewhere I would like to believe, and I know some of our listeners can corroborate, that their work has become more high quality compared to maybe fixing some widget or sprockets, right? And so I think the same thing will happen. It's very hard to predict, especially when things are changing so fast. But a lot of us have seen those waves when there was no computer or there was no internet, there was no mobile, and we've seen these waves come. Every one of those gives us pause, makes us think, is something going to change fundamentally? Are we not going to work the same way? But we have seen that some things do change, but the new shift in technology and how we work and our objectives kind of eventually merge and we find a way to move together. So I believe something like that will happen with AI. It will be an arms race. Some people will do really, really well in the beginning. Others will catch up over time, and then it will just become a normal part of our the other tools that we would use.
And what does that, for example, look like in terms of the future of the creative sort of efficiency and output?
Yeah, I would say that for creativity today, if you have to think about how much time somebody really spends on being creative, we have data for this because people are doing every step of the creative process, both marketing as well as design teams, several business teams as well. With data, we can tell you that the true creative work is taking maybe 15-20% of their time. A lot of their time is still spent in waiting, in passing stuff around, just kind of analyzing stuff by manual annotations, relying on file names. It's just the sort of the busyness of work, right? The work of the work. That is really what is taking them time. So even with AI, with all of these things coming in, I don't believe that this busyness will go away and people are just going to be doing 100% creative work. But my hope is that this sort of AI, whether voice interfaces or any sort of proactively software doing stuff on your behalf, or you being able to just kind of codify 5, 6, 10 things that you would do on a repetitive basis, can you have software do it? I believe that will be more and more common. And when that happens, it will just be like that, the metaphor of the bicycle for the mind. I think that is what will happen, that people will be able to do more creative work. They will have time to do more of it. I still believe it will not be 100%. There will still be some grunt work that will continue to exist.
Fair enough. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in this industry, and what brought you sort of to this role and in here?
Yeah, so I would say it was a series of fortunate events, is how we launched this product. It was over a lunch with a prominent journalist that I was talking about what we do, that led to us being covered in a pretty prestigious newspaper. Somebody from Amazon read this. This person was in the ads team at a fairly senior level, and we have happened to have gone to the same business school. So there was another checkbox of credibility. So this person reached out, said what problem they are facing, and I realized there was an opportunity to help somebody like Amazon. That opportunity does not come very often. Amazon has a great technology team. They can build pretty much anything that they want. But I know they are also open to partnering when the right team is trying to solve the problem. So in true startup fashion, we built something in 2 weeks. We also at the same time validated this problem with a few of our early customers who said they have similar sort of challenges. So we are not marketers, we are not designers, we are creative, but in our own ways, not like our customers. So the way the uniqueness that we bring to the space is not to say that we've personally faced these problems and we are solving it, but an openness to listen to how our customers work, what do they rather not want to do, what would they rather do, and use software to solve those problems. So I would say it has been a happy accident that we have gotten into this space, but happy that we finally found our niche to work in.
And Rocketium is participating in DX3. So I mean, and I understand, like, obviously you guys are also going to be speaking. So what is the message you want to leave our audience with, and what is it that we can expect from Rocketium on April 9th and 10th?
So every time we do one of these community engagements, if we do, a big part of that, which also aligns with our culture, is how can we use this to learn about people, what they do, what sort of future are they seeing, what sort of present are they living in. So it'll be a big opportunity for us to learn. In terms of sharing, we will talk about what our customers are doing, what sort of challenges they are solving. We work with companies who operate at very diverse levels of complexity of operations, business needs, and so on. So I think we'll have some interesting stories to share. But mostly we are coming to be a part of the community, meet other operators, see what sort of work they are doing, and really share and learn from each other.
I mean, you mentioned that, I mean, trying to understand what the customers are doing, and obviously you do interact with a number of your customers and you learn from them. Are there any sort of things that you can talk about in terms of what are sort of the learnings of the past year or two that you think would be useful for people?
Yeah, so I would say some of our customers have been very forward in terms of changing their process and bringing in automation and or using data science to drive their decisions. Some of those things are very different from what usually customers do, marketing teams are doing at scale. So I think those will be interesting lessons. The data science part especially is going to be very interesting for people because within creatives, using insights to drive their decision making is generally a completely missing piece. So I think people will like to hear that. Also, marketers and business teams are generally involved at the absolute boundaries of the creative process in the sense that they will rely on experts to make the creatives and just throw these requests over the wall or put these up in some design tool. But actually, with our customers, outs they have decentralized the creation of this content. So a central team has standardized what kind of creatives can be made. They have codified what sort of things are okay and not okay for their brand, and then handed over control to marketing and business teams. This is very rare. And so some of those things are very interesting. Of course, parts of it are enabled by our product, but parts of it are also enabled by their culture and the goals that they are trying to achieve. So I think it will be a good mix of customer stories as well as what Rocketium's product enables.
And how has been sort of the reception to Rocketium, like your service, and like, have you had any feedback from Canadian market? Because I know you're based in California, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just curious to know that how has been sort of the feedback and interest in the service.
Yeah, so we are currently speaking with several Canadian businesses. As it happens, we are going to be, thanks to DX3, we will get the chance to meet several of them around the time of the event. Um, this is something that a lot of our investors ask us, that there must be a lot of competition in this space. Who are you seeing as competition? Who do you really have to replace? And the thing that we hear, whether in Canada or the US or other parts of the world, is that, like I was saying, it's like fish in water. Most people are not really evaluating their tools today because they like Excel, like your operating system. They just assume that that is how things have always happened and things will continue to happen. They try to change some things in their marketing automation stack or maybe their analytics stack, but the creative stack more or less has not changed. And the reason it has not changed is because of diverse tools being there, people relying on those. So what we hear customer after customer is the same thing, that how did you even come across this problem? Because that's exactly what we face. And are you going to replace 5 of my tools? Are you going to work well with them? Those are the typical things that people have in their minds. But really, it's never about why do you exist. It's never about how are you better than X or Y. It's generally about how do we try this? How do we adopt this software in a way that we don't disrupt our operations, but at the same time we get success.
Now, I want to ask you something a little bit sort of personal, because I mean, you have a young daughter. I mean, that age, kids are handful. You're running a pretty sort of successful business, and then you also have five cats. How are you managing all of that? Like, how are you finding that much time in your day? What's the secret there?
Yeah, so I would say the analogy that I was thinking when I was thinking about this the other day also was of Atlas from Greek mythology, who has to, uh, of course, Atlas is punished to hold the earth on his shoulders, but really a lot of founders might feel the entire burden of their startup, and a lot of people's careers are on the line. Investors have put money, customers are trusting you for their work, so you might feel the weight of the world on your shoulders. But over the last few years, what has allowed me to create more time for myself is I found a great set of team members, people who have great ownership, who are really good at their work, and I would be embarrassed to do their work because they are so much better at it than I am. So by handing over important parts of what I used to take care of to them, I now have a very narrow set of things that I look at, and I can focus time on things like external facing events, for example, like DX3, speaking with customers, or putting out any fires that might come in, or really just thinking about the long term. So it's really the credit goes to our team for making this possible.
And as a founder, what would be your advice to other sort of founders, other people, young people who want to get started in the industry? What would you tell them as someone who's done this now and obviously has learned a tremendous amount from that experience? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say the first few years of Rocketium's experience are things that I would heavily focus on, that people don't do that, because Rocketium started as a passion project. I thought that I have this great idea. I think it's going to make a difference to people's lives and I should build it. Versus the story that I related to you of a potential customer coming to us and describing what they do, not a product that they wanted. So really have clarity about who is it whose daily work involves some pain that you want to solve, something that you want to really influence. So who is that person? Their 8 hours, what fraction of that are you working on? Do they value it? How much do they value it? If you do not have clarity on that, do not start a business just because there is $1 billion incumbent in that space or somebody got millions of dollars of funding. Just focus on the customer. Do they have a problem that is unsolved? Don't look at anything else. The customer is your truth, and over time, as you build your team, that is going to be the second source of truth. Everything else is an opinion, including mine, that you should ignore.
That's actually really, like, that's fantastic. And you're 100% right that, like, so much of the focus when people like us have an idea and we want to start, it's like my idea, like that is what we so much care about. And focus almost needs to be, what is it that customer actually wants? Like, how can I make my customer's life easier, better? So that's great. Well, Satej, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you in sort of April when you come over for DX3. Once again, appreciate your support and wish you all the best.
Thanks so much, Faz. I really enjoyed our chat. I look forward to meeting you.
Me too. For the latest updates, subscribe to our channels linked below. You can also visit us at dx3canada.com. It will help you keep updated with our content and engage with us and interact